for the first question.
Okay, Mom.
Okay. Here's your question. Did you have roommates or companions? And I'm going to add to that siblings.
Oh no.
Tell about them and the things you learned living with others.
I had roommates, and I didn't have roommates, I had companions. And I had a roommate growing up, I guess, sibling. Tom and I were roommates, and we shared a room our whole life, I think, until I went on a mission, didn't we?
Mostly. There were some moments where, like, you were Rich or Andy.
That's right, after Rich and Andy were born, we traded off a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
But the most memorable for me was Tom, because Tom was a snorer. And he used to sound just like Big Bird. And so I'd plug his nose and that'd stop him from snoring. He'd get awfully upset. And when he got older and bigger, I didn't dare anymore because he was bigger and stronger than me. But I think having sharing a room as a child was helpful for me because it made it so you had to think about others at some level. I don't know that I was very considerate, but at least you had to have somebody in there and you had to deal with it. And so then when you got to the mission field, when you had a roommate all the time, it was not much of an adjustment. It was normal. We encourage our girls to have roommates, and so when we built our house, we built it in a way that would basically give everybody a roommate. Eliza's been the lucky one.
She gets along with everybody.
No, she does not. The rest need extra practice.
Okay. Describe your yard as a child. Did you help with yard work? What are your memories?
Yes, I do.
Yard as a child, we had a huge, we thought it was a huge yard. It's a half-acre lot.
I think it's only the third.
Third-acre lot, and the back half of the yard was a garden when I was very young. It was a big garden. I don't know how many feet that is, but it's big. And then the other part was grass, and so we had grass to mow in the front and the front half of the backyard, and then the garden was big. And Grandpa and Grandma raised corn and peas and beans, and we did squash and potatoes, tomatoes, onions and radishes, all sorts of things. And it was our job to move the water, which we didn't do very well. And it was our job to weed, which we did eventually. And then the harvesting, I remember we shelled peas and snapped beans to no end. And we'd do all of our corn, and then we'd go to farmer's ground that Grandpa knew and my dad knew in the field because he was a large animal vet. I'm trying to do this so that posterity understands this. Then he'd get a pickup truckload of corn, and we'd husk and then Mom would freeze that. And that was always the best corn, frozen corn versus canned corn. We used to mow the lawn. Everybody makes fun of me because I say that I was 6 years old when I had the first experience mowing the lawn. And I think that was because Grandpa was excited to have his oldest son mow the lawn. Didn't want to do it anymore. And I remember being short enough to that handle of the lawnmower would hit me on my Adam's apple, and it felt funny with the vibration of the lawnmower on my Adam's apple. And so I know I was short. I don't know how short I was at 6 or 8, but that we could probably to prove it, Tom, we'd have to find the height of the lawnmower and then my height at the age, and that's how. I did have a nasty experience with the lawnmower once. I had, I don't know what kind of Converse kind of shoes. They were canvas shoes that had a rubber toe across the top. And my foot slipped underneath the lawnmower and it whacked the shoe and ripped the rubber toe up and exposed all my toes, but it didn't cut me. Anyway, that was my yard work stories.
Okay, tell us about the places where you have worked and what you have done for work over the years. Maybe how old you were when you were jobs.
Well, we always had the animal hospital to do some work. We didn't work there like some of the others that were involved, but about middle school or so we started doing cleaning at the animal hospital, and we got paid token payment, I think, at the time, which we were fine with, $2 an hour or something to be over there. And
Actually, that might have been minimum wage at the time.
it might have been at the time. We weren't quite in compliance, I don't think, because later on we had an office manager who made a big stink about child labor laws, and there was some hand slapping that went on and fines that were levied and stuff. But we as kids didn't feel anything bad about it. We thought it was great to have a job where we could earn a couple bucks. So we'd go over and help with cleaning in the large animal area or the bathrooms or just janitorial type stuff. And then we started to do, I got involved a little bit with city cat care, which meant to a certain extent a lot of euthanasia, because there were a lot of cats that came into our facility because of the city account where we had the city pound, and so they'd come and they'd be there for 2 or 3 days and then they'd be euthanized. There were some mean cats we had to deal with. That was an adventure, and I was doing that when I was helping with that, I should say, when I was in middle school. Then we had an odd lawn mowing job around, or I remember getting pulled in to help with Al Thorne one time, our neighbor next door who had a trucking business, and I helped him a day or two. But I never really applied for a job. I still don't think I've ever applied for a job like you think of applying for a job. Well, yes, I did, I guess. When I was at school, we had to apply for a job. But it just seems like jobs were always easy to come by. I never had to be unemployed for very long at all. It was they were always available, and I was always able to get the job I needed.
Tell us about the jobs at CSU that you did.
When we went to vet school at CSU, we had time off away from school, of course, and so during the vacations or summer, then I'd work. And when we first moved over there, we moved in June, I believe, because Jessica needed a job. She needed to get established before school started in the fall. And so I just started applying everywhere, and one of the places I applied was a temporary agency. And so I worked most of that summer with construction companies here and there as a temporary employee, and did mostly construction site cleanup, but there was a foreman here or there that would ask me to get on other jobs. One guy asked me to come and help him roof a shed or part of his house or something, I don't remember exactly, and we went and did that on a Saturday and thought that was great, but then his check bounced and thought that wasn't so great. But he did end up paying me. It was just a little disconcerting there for a minute. And then during the winter break that year, I think we had an opportunity to be at work because Jessica was still working at Golden Coast was an auditing company that worked for insurance agencies, I guess, and they would do the insurance audits. So she had to stay on after I was out of school for a few days, and so I went and worked with the temp agency cleaning up the big hotel they were putting in. So it was one room after another, just cleaning the floors or sweeping up the construction junk all day long in the cold. There wasn't any heat in the building yet. And then we'd come home after time was up. But that was nice because we weren't tied to anything. We could work when we wanted to and then not. And for what I was going to get paid anywhere, it was as much as I'd get paid anywhere. So it worked well for us. And then I got a job in the anatomy lab and did skeletal prep for animals. That was a good job for the summer. And we had we got racing greyhounds that were slow, and they became the anatomy dogs for the vet school. And we had to euthanize them and prepare their bodies for anatomy class. Put in pink rubber latex in the arterial side and blue rubber latex in the venous side. Then they were ready for dissection.
What about the sheep shaking job?
Oh yeah, between my junior and senior year at school, at vet school, there was a research project they were doing on osteoporosis, and they had taken sheep and made them postmenopausal. They'd spayed them, taken their ovaries out, and then they had a little device, a little plate that shook at a certain frequency. And their theory was that it would stimulate bone growth. Anyway, they proved that it worked, that it stimulated bone growth, and so the project that I was working on was to narrow down and fine-tune the time that they needed to do it in order to maximize and the frequency, which one actually worked better. But they showed that if you stand on a plate, it'll help stimulate bone growth. That's shaking. So movement certainly is a factor in bone growth. Well, that was kind of cool. We got involved in a few of those research projects. They did one where they were evaluating a human product that was a blood stop gel. So we'd do a surgical approach to a sheep's liver and make a uniform slice across the liver and spray this gel on there and see how long it took for it to coagulate. And then we'd sew that one up and go over to its kidney and expose its kidney and do a uniform slice across the kidney, and then spray the stuff on and see how long it took to coagulate. So we put arterial lines in these sheep and all sorts of research stuff that was a little different than what you typically would do. Kind of fun. A guy named Simon Turner.
I think it would be interesting to know what Jessica did while you were in school.
It would be interesting. Jessica, why don't you tell about Golden Coast and all your
Oh, well, he mentioned I worked for Golden Coast, and it was an auditing and an inspection company for insurance companies all over the country, and so we'd get orders to have work done. I covered the West Coast, so we'd get orders to get work done on certain businesses, and we had people that lived all over the country, and so we'd see where it was and assign them to the people that lived in that area. And then when the work was done, they would send it back in, and we'd have to review it and then send it back to the insurance company that ordered it. And so my job was an office manager, so a lot of time on the phone, a lot of time at the computer and in the mail room getting stuff ready to send out and opening stuff. And anyway, it's a good job, good people.
You worked there all 4 years?
All 4 years, yeah. I got the job because of a gal that worked at the animal hospital. Her name was Ann Wainsgard, and her cousin was in vet school at CSU. And so Paul had been accepted and we were gonna go over to find housing for the weekend. And she said, oh, my cousin lives there and he's in school now and he lives in a trailer park. And did she give us his address?
I think so.
Give us his maybe his phone number too or something. Anyway, she gave it to me and I took it in passing, thinking,
That's nice.
that's really nice, but you know, I'm probably not gonna call a stranger. But as it turned out, we just drove around looking for housing and ended up in this trailer park. And the trailer that we ended up buying was actually 2 doors away from her cousin. And so when we were looking at it, we realized, hey, this address is the same as this person or whatever. So we ended up meeting on that trip. And so while we were visiting with them in their home, talking about the trailer, his wife asked me about work. Did I have a job? And I said, no, I'm looking for work. And so she said, oh, I know this great place. They're looking for somebody. And most of the people that worked there were LDS. So she had worked for them. And so she gave me the reference. And anyway, everything fell into place. We moved there on Friday or Saturday. And I started work on Tuesday. Like went for a job interview Monday and started work Tuesday. So we really didn't have any time between when we quit our job here, moved, and then I started work the next week, which was a blessing because we were poor college students, didn't have any money.
And we were about 3 years old, both of us, so having somebody hold our hand was very nice.
Anyway, so that was a blessing. The Lord
Needed all the help.
guided us to have everything that we needed. All right, I have another question for you. Tell us about your favorite outdoor activities, and then tell us about a fishing or hunting experience, a favorite.
So you want more than just fishing for my favorite?
Well, I know that's your favorite, but tell us about other outdoor activities, and then one of your favorite, I'll say fishing experiences, because I know those are your favorite. Yeah, tell us about.
Well, I like the outdoors activities since I was a kid. Just being outside was the place to be. So growing up, it was always sports because that's what my friends would do. So I played football and baseball and basketball. We did it over here in the front yard. Got a basketball hoop that that my dad put up, and we had a backyard where we played baseball and football, and we were out there every day after school and throughout the summer all the time. Baseball, depending on the season, is what we play. In the summertime we were playing baseball. If it was fall, we were playing football. If it were wintertime, in the spring, we were playing basketball. And the neighbor kids, and especially the Thorns, but all the neighbors up and down the street would come play. So football was a big deal. I grew up listening to my dad tell about his football glory days, success. He was an all-state football player in Wyoming. And so when we'd go in the truck to work, and I'd ride with him all over the valley, I'd get to hear about his stories. And then, of course, I thought I was something because I played football all the time in the backyard, which I was the star of our backyard, I guess. There were 2 of us, and I was one of the stars. And so grew up playing football and decided that was what I wanted to do in high school. Started playing Little League football in junior high, and we got in with some kids that were all pretty good athletes. And first year we played, we went undefeated, I believe. Maybe we lost 1. In the second year we did similarly and won a little tournament that they did. And then freshman year we didn't lose any games as a freshman team. And our sophomore year we didn't lose any as a sophomore team. And then when I was a junior, we played uh, junior varsity. No, I played varsity. I played junior varsity as a sophomore. I played varsity, started varsity as a junior, and we lost a couple of games that year on the varsity team and went to the state championship and won it. And then our senior year, I think we lost one and went to the state championship and won it. So I think I could count the number of times I lost a football game on certainly two hands, probably one hand. We had a good group of players and that was fun. So lots of memories there with football. But when I was playing football in the fall, I never got to do some of the other activities that I like to do, like hunting and fishing and camping, because growing up we did that in our summer vacations when we'd go to Wyoming, and Wyoming was always a special place because of all the outdoors things we got to do, and I just loved being in the mountains and hiking and fishing especially, and shooting the guns and just being out. So we've always kind of thought, well, what would have been different had I done that instead of playing football? And not that I'm sorry I played football, that was an important part of my life at the time and it meant a lot to me, but now that I've gone into fishing, that's a lot more my drive, and it's something that we can do for a lot longer too, so that helps. So fishing is the big thing that I'm driven to do, and started fly fishing when I went to vet school. We had friends that wanted to fish, and so I'd go fishing with them, and we started out just spinner fishing in the river, Poudre River above Fort Collins. And then one time after coming home, I brought my fly rod home, said I'd try that, and started to catch fish, and decided, well, if I can catch these smart Colorado fish, I can probably catch fish. And so then grandma got me a fly tying kit, just a beginner set here in Logan. And we went into the shop and they gave me some pointers and gave me a how to tie flies book. And then we went to and started tying flies and making my own, and we went into his fly shop in Fort Collins. And the guy said, well, you need to sign up for a class. We have this beginner's class. It's going to be here in a couple weeks, so why don't you sign up for the class and you can take the class. And I just thought, I'm not taking the class. I've got a book. I'm going to figure it out. If I can't figure it out, then I'm not very smart. That was my attitude. And so I didn't sign up for the class, bought a few things, and went home and practiced. And then I went back because I'd run out of things a couple weeks later, asking for this and asking for that. And I'm sure the guy didn't remember me at all, but he says, well, it sounds like you ought to sign up for our intermediate class. And I thought, well, if in 2 weeks I can jump from beginner to intermediate, I'll probably just hold on for another couple of weeks and learn how to tie flies on my own. So I just kind of started tying flies on my own, and the first flies were awful and stayed awful for a long, long time. But they've gotten better. And one time I went fishing with a guy named Dennis Brown who tied flies professionally for Al Sporting Goods here in town. And we went fishing together, and our flies were floating close on the river, and it was dark, and so it's hard to see. And he said, one of us said, well, how are we going to tell the flies apart? And he says, well, mine's the pretty one. And it was. His were a lot nicer than mine, but mine caught more fish than his did that night. So that was not always pretty that works. Anyway, so then fly tying has become the way to go. If I have a fly on the river that somebody's catching fish with and they offer it to me, then I'll take it. I might fish with it, but I'll usually go and tie my own version of it and do it on my own. So all the flies that I've tied, for the sake of argument, are mine. I have very, very few that are not hand tied by me. I kind of got away from hunting just because I was so involved in fishing, so we did shoot an antelope after my mission, and that was fun. It's a lot of work. When you're fishing, you can throw your fish back and go catch another one, and that's the fun part. Fishing is the way to go. Is that enough on that?
What was your favorite place to go with your family when you were young?
Favorite place to go with the family as a child was probably Yellowstone. Always went to Grandma Sanders in Otto, Wyoming. And so going through Yellowstone was a treat, I thought. But we liked going up there. Going to Shell Lake was a favorite fishing hole up there where we could just go and catch fish about every cast. And but we liked to go through Yellowstone Park. Then as we got older, rather as I'm older now, one of the things I didn't talk about was Alexis, our oldest daughter, decided one day to chastise us for not doing anything fun like rock climbing. And so I said, well, you're not going to hang me on that one. So we went out and we bought harnesses and we bought ropes and we got into doing some rappelling and we've done some canyoneering and we've taken trips down the canyons of Zion National Park into Keyhole Canyon and Pine Creek Canyon and the Subway. Fun spots to go and you do a little rappelling and you hike down through the washes that are what are they called? Slot canyons that are pretty adventurous. So we've had a few adventures that way that have been fun for the kids. But Alexis learned to not challenge me on something because I don't think she's that into it. She thought she'd rub me and, well, I guess she did.
Okay, I want you to tell about your father.
Tell about my father.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my father is
Name and
Paul Sanders, just the same as me.
some memories you have about your dad, things that he taught you, things that stand out.
The thing that stand out is that I feel like I was always told that I was a spitting image of him, which everybody saw, and of course named after him. And that's the story that he tells about hearing a voice. He wasn't going to name me Paul, but he heard Paul get called out while he was waiting for the word that I was born. And felt like he was directed to name me Paul. In his house they had Eldon and Eldon, and it was a confusing thing, I guess, and so at first he wasn't too keen on the idea of me being named Paul, but in hindsight, there's so many similarities between our lives that it would have been right to not call me Paul. We have, like I mentioned, I grew up listening to his stories about football, and we had very similar football experiences in high school. We had very similar, of course we spent a lot of time together, so maybe it's environmental, but very similar ways of thinking and doing things and talking. And, there's just all sorts of uncanny things that make it so that we're very similar. But my dad's always been my hero as far as I probably quote him more than anybody. That's what my dad used to say. In fact, I said it in church today. And so I always looked up to my dad and tried to be somewhat like him. I don't feel like I measure up very well. He's patient, kind, and I lack that a lot of times. But that's my dad. He's my hero.
Tell about rebuilding the Jeep.
Well, we took on a project after I got home from my mission. We had a 1979 Jeep Cherokee. Jeep,
No.
Jeep
CJ7.
CJ7.
CJ7, sorry. And it really wasn't in bad shape, but it was a steel body, and we were thinking, well, it's going to get rusty, and what can we do to keep it nice? And so got to looking, and there was a fiberglass body that you could put on it. So we took the project of taking everything off of the Jeep, the whole body. It was just down to the axles and the frame, the steering column, and took it all apart in the garage and took the body off and hauled it off to the dump, and then this big fiberglass Jeep body came, and we stuck it all back together and made the thing a lot lighter and rust proof, and it worked great. Anyway, it was a big project. It was a baby blue, and then we didn't really paint it. We just left it with a gel coat color, just kind of white. And anyway, it was nice. And the littler brothers got to drive it after that, and they fixed it up right. Drove it into the wall.
Tried to ruin the job.
Anyway, it was good. That would be, in hindsight now, we should have just bought a bit of Bondo for $10 and fixed that. Like we did on the trailer. We can fix it if we can figure it out. Now with YouTube and everything, you just learn how to do it on your own.
Okay, tell us about your mother. What you remember about what she's taught you, and
My mom has taught me.
maybe some fun experiences too.
So much. My mom's a great example. I remember as a little boy going around with mom to do her visiting teaching. She was a Relief Society president. And we used to go to old ladies' houses. I'm trying to remember the little old lady's name that used to live over on one of those apartments behind A&W.
Betty Morris.
Well, Betty Morse.
Betty Morris and
I want to say
she wrote a poem.
I want to say Hellberg, but it's not Hellberg.
Yeah.
Hellberg.
Mm-hmm.
And who was at the top of the street?
And that was Newburger
Newberg.
and Barfus.
And all these little ladies that she'd take care of, and we got to go and sit around and wait while she ministered to them. And that was a good example of putting somebody first, somebody else's needs first. And didn't matter how much we complained, we were there, and so I don't know if we were very good about it. I say we, I assume that Tom and the other kids were there too, but I
Tom
do
was
remember
my
being there
third
plenty,
counselor.
waiting and waiting for things to happen. But
You were really good.
we'd occasionally have opportunity to do something of importance, that needed some muscle or something, but we were pretty little. Mostly probably we just sat around and waited for treats or something at the end, but
They like to kiss you.
No. But we had a good example of Christ-like service in your mother, and she has always done that. She always has a little friend that she's taking care of and making a difference in her life. And so that's been a great example. Then Mom got sick when I was a junior in high school. I think that's the timing of it.
Yeah.
And
The end of your junior year.
had cancer in her stomach. They removed a portion of her stomach with one surgery, and then went back the following year, or a few months
In
later.
October. It's May of the year when you just your junior.
It was May of your
And
junior.
so anyway, they removed the remainder of her stomach, and that was a huge trial for our family because we were worried that Mom wouldn't be able to stay with us. Although, as Anna said the other day, I don't think that we really had that kind of doom and gloom feeling in our home. We were hopeful, we were worried, and we watched Dad come and go and be worried. Mom was in the hospital here in town, and we were here with Grandma Briggs, who did a great job given the circumstances, but we were all teenage kids that had no respect for anybody, and she wasn't our mother, and so it made life hard. Because I remember I'd get up at probably 10 to 8, and I'd need to be to school at 8, and so I'd jump out of bed and I don't know, I assume I showered, but I don't know how to do that. Anyway, I got up way too late. Maybe I came downstairs at 10 to 8. And Mom usually had breakfast ready to go so I could wolf it down and brush my teeth and hit the road and be on time to school in the last minute. And I come downstairs when Mom's in the hospital, and I remember Grandma saying, "So what would you like for breakfast?" And I just, "What do you mean? Breakfast isn't ready? You gotta go. It's time. I gotta be there yesterday. What are you doing?" As if it's her fault. Anyway, so she was good to take care of us, but it certainly was an adjustment to not have your mother there. Moms make a huge difference. So then Mom was sick and had some leakage from one of her incision sites in her belly and got what's called bile peritonitis.
That was after the first.
And so she was in a really bad way. And I went up to see her, and she was just panting, just in all sorts of distress. And Dad said later that she was much better that day than she had been the day before, which I couldn't even imagine. But she was in such a bad way that I just couldn't be in there. I just thought, she's gonna croak right here. And I didn't want to just break down in front of her, so I took off and just to be alone and cry. And that was pretty tough. See my mom in that kind of shape, and made me appreciate all the things that she did and still does for us, because she's sweet and good and does what's right. And we should all appreciate our moms, because they go to the edge of life to bring us here, and they're willing to do it again every day to keep us here. Do so much for us that we can't ever pay them back. Every one of us have a mom who is the best thing that ever happened to you. And you need to treat her like she is, because she's willing to do everything for you. And she's a gift from Heavenly Father to each of us. In every case. That's how I feel about Mom.
So what advice would you give to others? This says those that are younger than you, but I don't think age really matters. What advice would you give to others?
Advice to others would be to follow the gospel. There's a plan, it's real, and it's true, and it's simple. It's spelled out in the Book of Mormon. It says that we should be blessed if we obey the commandments. Period. If you keep my commandments, you'll prosper in the land. He said it to the Nephites repeatedly. And it's just the way it is. It doesn't always mean we won't have troubles. But if we take care of the things that the Lord's asked us to do first, then our life will be better. Period. And if we neglect those things, then we'll have less good life, less good in our life. I'm not going to say that the Lord just punishes you immediately when you do something wrong. That's obviously not the case. But if you want your life to generally be smoother than it would be otherwise, then keep the commandments and tap into His strength and His help. And as you do that, then you'll be blessed. It's simple. It almost seems too simple. But if you sit back and really compare people that you know who are in the church, who are doing things that are right, and you look at those who have made poor decisions and the challenges that come eventually because of those decisions, it's pretty clear that keeping the gospel, keeping the commandments, frees you up and makes you able to, or allows you to be more free, not less free, more happy, not less happy. So follow the gospel, follow the prophet, do what's right, and you'll tend to have more success, especially in meaningful ways that will bring the true happiness. How's that?
We're going to switch gears for a minute. Tell us where you have lived all your life,
Where I've lived.
born, and where have you lived? Tell us all the places you've lived.
I was born in Lovell, Wyoming, which I know where it is. I don't remember much, if anything. I remember going back there, I think, because of the memories I have of Lovell. And then we moved to Rexburg, Idaho. His dad had a job change that took him to Rexburg. From Rexburg we moved...
How old were you?
I think I was 2-ish, 1 or 2, when we were in Rexburg.
Yeah, you were
One and a half.
1.5, and then you turned 2.
We moved there in November of '73.
Oh.
So then after Rexburg we moved to Tremont, and in Tremont lived there, and then I maybe turned 4 there, and then we moved over here.
We went to Tremont
Which is
in
where?
'74, and we moved here in '76,
Yeah.
in October '76.
So I
Just
had
over 2
turned
years.
4 in July of '76, and we moved to Logan in October.
Yeah.
And then I started kindergarten at Ellis Elementary School the following fall in '77, I guess. One red letter date that's in there was January 4th of 1977, which is the day that my Jessica was born, my wife, Jessica. And that happens to be the same day that Tom, my brother, had a birthday. They share the same birthday. And I remember on that day that Tom got a toy that was I think it was a little trailer with horses in the truck. Anyway, I just remember that day. I don't remember anything that Jessica was born that day, but only that day. And I thought it was kind of cool that I can remember the day when my wife was born. And then after we moved to Logan, we lived in Logan throughout my growing up years till high school, and went on a mission and lived in. So I lived in Provo for a while in the MTC, which one of the boys, I think Rich or Andy, called the MTC, like the lake that didn't have any water in it, the MTC. And so we lived there, and then we moved to Pozo Almonte, Chile. And then after there, I served in Copiapó, Chile. After Copiapó, I went to Antofagasta. And after Antofagasta, I went to Calama. And after Calama, I went to Chañaral. Didn't have very many areas, did I? I was only 5 or 6 places on my mission that I served. I had stayed in them for a long time each time, I think.
Yeah.
4 to 6 months each.
What was the most northern one up in the desert area when you had?
The very first one, it was all desert, but the very first one was Pozo Almonte, near Iquique, Chile. And I did travel to Arica, which is right near the Peruvian border, for a zone conference, Christmas conference.
Mm.
And after my mission, came back and lived in Logan for 2 years? 1 year, 2 years. Because the first year after I got home, I was in school, and I got home in 1993. Started school fall of 1993, and then went to undergraduate type studies. I'd already gone to a year of school before my mission, so that was my second year. And then went to Jessica and I started dating in late January or February of 94, and got married in fall of 1994. And then we lived here in town, going to school for another year in Logan, in the Needham Apartments on 300 West and about 300 North, 250 North, something like that. Right behind the Sunshine Terrace. And we lived there during that school year, and then I was accepted to vet school that fall, and we had applied to both Washington and Colorado State. Got in at Colorado State, and of course that's where Dad had gone, and that's where Jessica's dad had gone, and Jessica's grandpa had gone, and so there really wasn't a decision to be made when we got the acceptance letter from Colorado State. We just called Washington and told them that we were in, and that was good enough, and see you later. Don't consider us any further for your school. And so then we moved to Fort Collins, Colorado as soon as school got out in the spring, which then we were on quarters, and so we didn't get out of school until the end of May. Anyway, was it June, end of May? It was pretty early in the
And we moved back?
when we moved to Colorado.
Oh. Yeah, it's June. It's June, yeah.
And then we lived in Fort Collins for 4 years, and then we moved back to Logan to go to work for Dad. During that time, Jessica's dad passed away in 1998. So we thought we were going to come home and work for both our dads. And that was a hard day because I got the phone call. I happened to be home at lunch during the July 20th of 98, right? And Justin called on the phone, Jessica's brother, and told about James having died, and I had to go and tell Jessica that her dad died, and I had to go and tell Jason that his dad died. Go track him down at work and tell him. So it was kind of a rough time for everybody. Made Jason not want to go on. He was pretty broken up for quite a while. He battled through, and of course is working as large animal vet like his dad and grandpa, and so that's good. And I followed the advice of my dad and did small animal work. And so then when we graduated, I came back and worked in the small animal side of the business while Dad kept the large animal business going for a couple of years for Jason to get back. We did hire somebody to help out who bought you a little bit of time, I guess. It wasn't too much help. But, did that, and then we bought a house out on the west side of, well, we've always lived on the west side of town, but further west, out by 1000 West, is where we lived, in a little home, kind of model home community type thing. And anyway, it was nice, and then 3 years later we decided to move. We had not thought to move. The house was plenty big for us. For what our expectation was, it's half the size of our house now, but we were comfortable there, didn't need a lot. And but the yard wasn't really great, and we had a home teaching family that asked, well, are you guys gonna move or are you gonna stay around? And we had thought that we'd just be there for a long time, for years. And then that kind of planted a little seed in our minds that we just started talking about when would we move, and thought, well, Alexis is about to enter school, and it'd be nice if she didn't get moved when she was in the middle of school. So we thought to maybe investigate it, and we started looking around, and we just couldn't find anything that we liked. It just wouldn't fit. It was too far away from work, or it was too much money, or too something. So we just didn't feel good about anything we were finding. We hadn't looked for very long, but a few weeks. And then we came to Mom and Dad's house one day and kind of frustrated, and Dad said, well, why don't you just buy the lot that Maurice Welsh has for sale over there on 150 West. And we had talked about that lot before and thought, well, if there was ever if that ever came for sale, we'd be interested in it. This was when we first moved to town. And because it's real close to work, and it's a nice little quiet street, and we could build our own house on it, do whatever. And so we said, well, if he'd sell it, we would. And he said, well, I just saw it up for sale today. And so we ran right over there and talked to Maurice, and had the lot purchased within a pretty short time, a week or two. And then got plans. The lot's not really big either, and we wanted to do more with our house, so we had to look at what we do, and we kind of designed how our house is, and I got some suggestions, but most of it was just little computer program that Grandpa had, that Dad had, that we used to design it, and then took it to an engineer who put in all the hardware and stuff and made our design work. And then we were 2 or 3 blocks from work, and were able to buy a house that didn't change our payment, but was twice the size. We were able to start paying down our student loans. Within 6 years, we were able to pay off our house. And about the next year, I was diagnosed with cancer. And so it's been a blessing for Jessica to know that the house is ours, and that I can walk to work, and that things are taken care of. So that's just been a huge blessing in our life to have that all fall into place in our house and live where we wanted to live, have it paid for, and just be able to be at peace and at ease in that location for many years to this point and for years to come. So that's where we've lived.
Okay, last question before we take a break. Tell about your romances.
Romance. I have not dated very much in my life. I dated a few girls in high school. But I was pretty shy and backward, and so I didn't much like going to the dances. Wasn't really my thing. But I did go to a few and bore through it. And then the only real romance or love of my life is who I married. And Jessica, like I mentioned before, I remember the day she was born, not because of the day she was born, unfortunately. I do remember that day. And I remember that distinctly seeing her at the Ellis Elementary School when she, it was during her first year of school there, so she was just a baby. She was 5 probably, because Jessica skipped kindergarten. And that was impressive to me. I thought, well, she must be really smart if she can skip kindergarten. And so I remember Jessica from the time she was a little girl being an impressive person. So that sounds like a dorky romance, but she's always been impressive to me. And that's made it so that I can trust her and appreciate her more than just anybody, because she's an impressive person. And so when I got home from my mission and was dating a little bit, trying to do what the prophet said and do what's right, then one day we were here in the kitchen in Grandpa and Mom and Dad's house and talking about life, and Grandpa said, well, why don't you just, must have been asking about dating or doing something, and why don't you ask Jessica out? Because she was working at the animal hospital at the time and I was working there. Why don't you ask Jessica out? And I said, well, she's a lot younger than me. And he says, well, so? Grandma Sanders was a lot younger than Grandpa Sanders, or something like this. And so I said, well, why don't I ask her out? So I had a concert ticket or something. I don't know if it was for a class that I had to do, because I wouldn't have normally gone to a concert. But no, I think it was Lex de Azevedo one, so it must have been something I was planning to take the date to, because that probably wouldn't have been a school concert. Anyway, decided to call Jessica up, and she didn't know if I was asking her on a date or if I was just trying to fill the spot for need, because I was so awkward about it.
Because you said,
Need a date.
I have an extra ticket.
I said, I need a, yeah, I have an extra ticket, I need somebody to go with me. And she wasn't sure if I was asking her out or just what. Anyway, we went to this concert, and of course I was ever impressed. And then we went out to Subway afterwards. That's the extent of my splurging back in the day. And she got a tuna fish sandwich. I couldn't believe it. Why in the world would you get a tuna fish sandwich? The most plain Jane, whatever. But anyway, that was what she got, and we just had a good time. We shared a shake, or had a shake. I don't know if we shared one, but
Shared a shake.
we had shakes. And then we just started dating after that, and it wasn't too long, because I was a returned missionary, that the subject of marriage came up, because I was a returned missionary, and that's what you do when you're a returned missionary. You don't, you're not dating just to date, you're dating for purpose. So it's pretty clear. And then I went and talked to her dad about it, and said something like, well, he was in watching Seinfeld, as I remember, which was probably a big deal to get him to stand up and come and talk to me. But he took a break and came and talked to me, and I said, you know, it's no secret that I'm a turned missionary, and it's probably going somewhere serious. Is this something you're okay with? And he gave me permission, and as did Betty. I think your mom came in too. And so then we were dating. About a few months later, Jessica was having second thoughts because I was so old. Told me to take a hike, and that was a hard deal, and she was just told me she'd call me if she decided that she wanted to see me again. And so I kind of thought it was all over, and I was mowing lawns for Tom Snyder all day out in the heat, and but I remember I fasted one day, and I was puking about every time I turned around because I was so dehydrated. But I was gonna fast, and got home. The last time we were at the dump dumping all the grass, and I was over Ralphing on the side of the truck. Tom's over there, I know what you're doing, and you're not doing it ever again. Nobody's gonna fast on my job site. It's too risky. You can't be sick. Anyway, that night I think she called and gave me a second chance. I don't think I'd done anything. I think she was just getting cold feet.
You didn't talk about slicing bread or something.
Yeah.
And so then we went, that was probably late in May. And then as July rolled around, we went on a hike to Coldwater Lake over on the Wellsvilles. And we went to watch the fireworks from across the valley, because we thought, well, let's go see what it looks like from over there. And it's unimpressive.
Quite unimpressive.
But that's when I asked Jessica if she would marry me.
What'd you say?
She agreed. In my patriarchal blessing, it talks about getting the Lord involved in that decision, others that you love. And it's been clear over the years that Jessica is part of our family. That she's well loved by all of my family. And so that's been confirmation to me that I made the right choice. That she is the one that's talked about in my patriarchal blessing. That would be good for me and good for my family. And as I was choosing, I felt it was important that I marry someone who is a lady. I've told this to my daughters over the years. I didn't know that I would have 5 daughters, but I knew that I needed to marry someone who was a lady. And there's no one that I know who fits the description of a lady. I see a lot of women at work, and I like to call the employees at the front desk at my office ladies, because I like them to act like ladies. I think there's a big difference between being a woman and being a lady. And Jessica is a lady, and she sets a fine example for all of my girls. And if they'll aspire to be just like their mother, they will do very, very well. Because she is a true lady. That's my romance. I think I need to take a break. Anna, you got any word on Anna yet?
Maybe heard there. There would have been 45 minutes ago.
Something just hot blocked by the hours.
At the end, we're going to do a will, so if you want to be in the will, taking bribes on the side. Things in mind that you
I
want.
don't think we got.
I thought maybe you'd tell about that time that you were driving in the Jeep and you jumped out of the car, you saw this girl you wanted to ask out about your mission along the street up on campus. And you just jumped out of the car and says, "Here, Tom, you drive the car, I'm going over here."
I told you I was trying to do what the prophet said, and there was an attractive young lady, and I tracked down her phone number.
Okay, all right, here's a question. What do you think about movies? I don't know why that's a weird question. What is your favorite movie and why? Or movies, what are some of your favorite movies?
Favorite movies?
Yeah, yeah, because I know you can't pick just one. And or TV show.
Well, I have some favorite movies, I guess, but I don't watch them very often like your favorites, but the one that, or the movies that I like the most are the ones that are quotable. And so there's lots of movies that we quote, and especially with my brothers, I guess we get together and quote movies. So The Princess Bride is a classic quotable movie that I've quoted throughout the years, and I quoted at work. I remember one time there was a gal that worked for us named Lindy Allen, who's a tall gal. She's probably close to 6 feet tall. And there's a quote in the movie. One day she was offering an excuse for something that happened at work, and I said, "I can't accept excuses. I'm just going to have to find myself a new giant."
She's a giant.
So that was kind of funny. But anyway, everybody at work knows that Princess Bride is one that they need to be able to quote, because there's so many things that are quotable. Of course, some of the other quotable ones would be things like Fletch and things like Nacho Libre and
Pulling dynamite.
Dynamite, some of these just dorky, fun movies. So, and then I like movies that are, yeah, I always like Star Wars movies. They're just kind of clean and an adventure. And what's the other one? Oh, you gotta like The River Runs Through It, but not because the river runs through it for its storyline. The storyline The River Runs Through It is awful, but the fishing is great. So you can watch the cinematography for fishing The River Runs Through It, but the storyline is awful. So that's movies.
Okay. What's one invention you could not live without? That's another one.
One invention that I couldn't live without.
That's Dad's question.
I really don't know what to say about that. There's lots of things that I like. Let go of that. Don't let him pull. He'll give it to you if you don't give it. If you don't let him pull. You're giving me a suggestion? Give me a suggestion.
Bathroom?
Indoor plumbing. Yes, indoor plumbing is good.
I was gonna say the bed.
Great grandma's.
Great Grandma Sanders didn't have indoor plumbing, so I remember that growing up. She had an outhouse, and we, growing up, got to use the outhouse. That's something you might think that my dad would talk about in his life history, but I was. The outhouse was always there every time that I went to Grandma's house. So through when I was in college, we went there.
I was gonna say
She had indoor plumbing, but it just didn't work that great.
It wasn't
we
great, so
still
if you-
had to use
If
that.
you had the reason to use the facilities, then you were safer just to go out to the outhouse. And she had, the outhouse was inside, kind of sort of the chicken coop. No. You had to pass through some of the birds in order to get to the outhouse. And at one time she had a big turkey there, and so the turkey would guard the area, and you'd have to fight your way into the outhouse. So that was an adventure a little bit. But at Grandma's house for boys, it was just a matter of going out on the porch too at night. So that wasn't such a big deal because we were out in the middle of nowhere. That was always an adventure going to Grandma Sanders' house. That was our family vacation every year, was to go to Otto, Wyoming. You girls never got
Otto,
to go
O-T-T-O. We know.
there.
I know,
And
but I'm saying it for the camera because it's not.
one night, well, on a few different occasions, they have a big tree like this, I mean, enormous tree, like the tree we have out front, that would have fallen or they would have cut down or whatever. And so they'd have a big bonfire, and they'd start the tree on fire out in the middle of the field somewhere, and we were in the tree, and it would burn all night. I remember getting up after we'd been burning it since, dinner time or something, and getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and there it is out in the field, just smoldering away. But we would try to roast hot dogs, but the fire was so hot you couldn't roast your hot dog because you couldn't get close enough to the tree, and so then you'd have all these little fires around that you'd build to roast your hot dog because you couldn't get close enough to the tree.
What about the bed?
The bed.
The invention of the bed.
He's talking about the same
Yeah. I do like my bed.
thing. Okay. Tell about your birth and that you're aware of, things that you're aware of, details, and how your name was chosen.
So this is again a story that Grandpa Sanders could tell better, but I've heard it a lot of times. And Grandpa and I share the same name, as you may know. And so the way the story goes, Grandpa didn't want to name me Paul because he grew up in a house where his brother was Eldon and his dad was Eldon, and there was always confusion, and he didn't like it. And so he didn't really have this desire to name his son after himself. Of course, they didn't know in those days that it was going to be a boy. They didn't have ultrasound, and so he had my sisters, Anna and Brenda. They were both born in Fort Collins, Colorado. And then Grandma, my mom, was pregnant with me when they graduated from vet school in May, and then they moved to Lovell, Wyoming to take a job with a guy who had who they'd gone to school with. That's where they met him, and his name was Ed Lowe. And so they took a job there, and Dad was out on a call, as I understand, working on an animal. And Grandma had gone into labor, and so she was in the hospital and ready to have a baby. And in those days, the fathers didn't get invited into the delivery room, like they do now. Not a bad idea, actually. And they
Mom's offended.
and so Grandpa was out and waiting outside the delivery room for things to happen. And as it turns out, he's kind of dozing out there, just waiting for news. And he hears somebody say, "Paul." And he doesn't. He looks around and nobody's there. And anyway, again, this was after a discussion with Grandma whether they should name me or name a boy Paul or some other name. And he, after hearing that, he determined that that was what my name should be. And so he felt inspired to name me Paul. And then, I don't know if there's any other details about birth really, other than I was born and things were fine, but he went ahead and they named me Paul, and then there's just all sorts of coincidences in our life that are parallels that make it a good fit. He's a veterinarian, I'm a veterinarian. When it comes to interests, we share similar interests, and we've done things in our homes similarly. He finished off his home, doing additions and taking on projects that he just did on his own, kind of like I've done. Let's give him something else to chew on so he doesn't destroy that.
Sophie, where's his bones right there?
And can you go put that somewhere so he doesn't chew it? So there's those similarities. What else? Even in sports, he was all-state football player in Wyoming, and I was an all-state football player in Utah. His teams won state championships, and my teams won state championships. So there's lots of similarities between the two of us, and so to have the same name, we look similarly. We've always been told, hey, I've always been told when I was going on calls with him as a kid that I was his spitting image. And so I don't know if you see that or not in he and I, but we certainly have had those comments all through the years. So that's what I can tell you about my name and his birth.
Okay, what, you should tell about a favorite vacation from your childhood?
Tell about the one with the moves.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's not his favorite.
Well, that's a fun
good
one.
You should still tell
That comes
that.
to mind.
Okay.
So we always used to go to Grandma's house, like I said, to great grandma's in Otto, and that was favorite. Always, it was favorite because we could just go and stay there, and it was kind of camping, even though you were inside, and it was just an adventure to be in Otto for us because we could take our .22s, our guns, our BB guns, and we could just kind of go do whatever we wanted to, just across the street. We always had a fishing trip planned. We usually went through Yellowstone. On this particular trip, we actually rented a pop-up trailer to take. and we were going to go to Grandma's house and spend some time there, and then we were going to go from there on to Mount Rushmore and see the Black Hills in South Dakota, and see Mount Rushmore and all of that. And so it was going to be a 2-week-long vacation with all the things that we like to do packed into it. And so we went through Yellowstone and we camped at a place just on the east side of Yellowstone Park called Pahaska Teepee. It's a campground there. And we noticed that evening as we were all hanging around the trailer that there was a big old bull moose that walked through the camp. I mean, big, huge rack. We walked down through the campground, past our campground, and we just saw him, and that was kind of cool, and kind of just knew he was around. And the next morning we got up, Grandpa and I, and went fishing. So we got up early and went up along the stream, and I actually remember catching a nice fish out of the stream there. And that was fun. And on our way back for breakfast, because we were getting up early using worms back in the day, and we got going back towards breakfast, and Grandpa decided he'd go off to the bathroom. And I decided that I'd cut through the willows instead of following the long way around the road. I'd just cut straight through to where the tent or the camper was. And so I'm going through the brush, there's little game trails and stuff through the brush. And I come up to one spot, and suddenly there's a cow moose in front of me, and she's got a calf. And so I just got back out of there and went and found Grandpa and said, well, let's go and get our cameras and we can take a picture of this moose. So we went back to the trailer, and Brenda came with us, and we got our cameras, and we came back down where we thought was a safe distance from this moose so we could get a picture. And as we got closer, she decided she wasn't very happy with us being there, and so she came after us. And Brenda and Dad went one way, and I went the other way, and the moose decided to chase after me. And I was 10, and I was just hauling out of there as fast as I could go. And it's through little willow bushes and marshy stuff, and I slip down, fall, and then I jump back up, and I get running again. And I slip again, and I look up, and here's a moose's foot right in front of my face, and I'm laying down between these 3 little willow branches or whatever that are sticking up. And the moose is turning back to go back to her calf. And I could hear, as I was running through the trees, I could hear the bushes, I could hear Grandpa saying, get behind a tree, get behind a tree. But I couldn't register, I was just getting out of it that way. And so we had that experience, and then the moose went back, and then I got with Grandpa and Brenda and over behind the picnic table or something, and we made it back to the road and back to the trailer and just got ready to go. Well, there was garbage that needed to be taken to the garbage dumpster, and so Grandma and some others took the garbage. Grandma had great Grandma Briggs with her, and let's see who else. Rich, who was probably 1, maybe pushing 2. Anyway, he was in arms. And Grandpa and I were turning the jacks and trying to figure out how to set down the trailer. And Brenda and Anna had Andy in the back of the van that was pulling the trailer. And I think probably Tom was with Grandma. Anyway, we were spread out kind of between the garbage and the camp. And when they started yelling back to the camp, because as they had taken the garbage over there, this moose and her calf had been sitting on one side of the road and saw them and decided to jump up and approach. And as they got up near the road, and Grandma and everybody ran towards the bathroom, but the moose pinned my mom, holding Rich, by this tree and just standing there looking at her, just like from me to you away. I mean, just right in her face. And she couldn't go anywhere. Great grandma had made it to the bathroom, I think, with Tom. Brenda and Anna were in the van seeing all this, so they started screaming for Grandpa to go down there. Of course, I was going to be the hero, so I went with him. I 10 years old. And we ran down to the bathroom, and he, as we approached, I think the moose went back, and then as we went by and Grandpa got rich and ran for the bathroom, the moose came after him, and he just narrowly got into the bathroom, and then the moose went back and just stared at Grandma, and she was just nose to nose with this guy. I mean, the moose have eyes out here, and I don't know if the moose could see Grandma because he was so close, just like right there. There's the moose's big old nose, and Grandma's sitting right there, and she's just paralyzed. And the moose has got her cornered. And then after a few moments of that, us just kind of watching from the bathroom because nothing we could do, the moose kind of went back across the way, and we all came out of the bathroom together and then walked down the road, and this guy in a pickup truck came by and said, "Hey, there's a moose in here." Really? And so we were able to get back to the campground and alongside his truck and get out of there. We learned our lesson: don't fuss with a moose and her calf. She's not the one that wants to be fussed with. So that was a part of that trip. And then the trip went on from there. We were going to Shell Canyon where we like to fish. And Grandma was driving the van, and she hit about a 600-pound steer with the van and broke its back. Happened to be somebody that... It's a cow. Happened to be somebody that my parents knew because they had longtime families from the area. So they didn't, I don't know, I guess the lie is that we would have to buy it or something, but they recognized it wasn't our fault. They took care of it, but it was a big enough steer that it made the van kind of, I could have rolled it. It was a pretty bad deal. Then we went to Mount Rushmore and had lots of adventures up there, trying to find different things. Finding the cave that we were trying to see. It took all day to find this cave, and then when we got there, we were so frustrated with it. We was kind of like, we don't even want to see it. And Mount Rushmore was neat. Anyway, 2-week-long vacation. So.
Hey, wait, girl, sit down. You're in the way.
Okay, tell us about your teenage life, your friends, dances, your trouble, your activities.
I want to tell you all of things. But my teenage life, well, I had what I consider to be good friends that wanted to do what was right, so I felt blessed to have good friends that weren't into some of the other things. The class of guys ahead of me were known to, a year older than me, were known to be kind of partiers, and so they like to go find things to do they shouldn't do. They were known to have alcohol at parties and stuff like that. We never participated in that at all. And our group of friends that were behind were kind of known to be the other way, that we just avoided that like the plague. And so it was good to have friends that didn't do that. Let's either put him out or put him in his kennel, or tell him, teach him not to do that. So it was nice to have good friends who had high ideals and were not getting themselves into trouble. None of us really had steady girlfriends, and so we always did things just together. And we did go to dances, some, but I wasn't big into it, so I don't know if I went to even 4 or 5 dances throughout high school, but I did go to a couple, and it was painful. I'm not a dancer. I have a hyperactive sense of embarrassment. That's what I'll call it. I have sympathy embarrassment. So if I go to a dance and I see somebody dancing, and I shouldn't judge, but I see that it's not the way I would want to look, then I would get red in the face and it would make me uncomfortable and just wouldn't like it. Is that shocking?
Go get the collar. Go put it on in the closet.
It's up and running. So I didn't like to go to dances, and even when we had like cheerleader tryouts, it was a big popularity contest back in that day. I would sit there in the bleachers just like this, just so embarrassed for those poor girls out there making a fool of themselves. I was just totally red in the face. Just overactive sense of embarrassment.
You had to watch them?
Yeah, it was awful.
It's not like a sport tryout. It used to be just a popularity contest where they'd try out in front of the student body, and the student body would vote for who they wanted. Cheerleaders and, yeah, it was just cheerleaders, not real team. Anyway, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was really bad, just super awful.
It was.
So I always hated that.
Because you don't want
What else
that
is the
to-
question asked?
Like your trouble. I'm thinking about your water balloon launches.
Oh, yeah, we got into a little bit of mischief with my friends, but nothing really too serious. But we did go on a spring break trip to St. George. Grandpa said to me growing up, because Anna had wanted to go on a trip, but she was a senior, and he didn't let her go. And he said, when I started getting to that age, he says, "You're not going to ask me to let you go on that trip, are you? Because I'll probably let you go and it's going to make me look really bad in front of you." Anyway, so I did, and we did. We went down to St. George, and my friend had a condo. Jeff Spencer's family had a condo down there, and so Drew and Tyler Jensen, Lindy's brother, he drove us, and Brad Jones and Tim Polson, those guys I know, and all that, Jerry Peterson. And we drove down there and stayed in that condo, and it had a big swimming pool, and we just had a good time down there. But one night, we went out launching, well, we had a water balloon launcher, and it was staying on a golf course actually. And one night, it was about dusk, and we took a golf ball and put it in that water balloon launcher and launched it onto the golf course, and it was still rising when we last saw it. It was just, it went so far. Of course, it was because of the light that we lost it, but it was still pretty light, and it was still rising out of the way when we last saw it. And then one night we went to this intersection. It was a big T intersection, and we were launching from below a bridge up onto the intersection at cars. And we didn't hit any cars, but we thought we might, and it was pretty funny for us at the moment. It's a good thing we didn't hit anybody. But there was a motorcycle that came up, and we about wet our pants, sitting there laughing, trying to hold that thing, just thinking if this thing hits it. And of course, the cars would have thought that they were being thrown from the T intersection. There was a bank of bushes. And so they would have thought that the water balloons were coming from a totally different direction. But we were 100 yards back down the road, launching back and back. That was probably not very nice.
Don't do that, girls.
Why
But
not?
nobody got
Don't do
hurt,
that.
and we didn't get arrested, even though
They
both of
could
those
have.
things could have happened. But then the other thing that we did was we'd go up into Green Canyon when we heard about somebody having a booze party up in the Green Canyon. Because they used to go up near that cave and they'd drink up in the cave, or there were frat parties that would happen when we got into the university up in the canyon. So if we caught wind of it, we'd take the water balloon launcher and all dress in black and put black hats on and sneak up there,
Which,
kind of crawling and getting up in there, and then we'd launch from across the canyon up into the back of the cave, and it would shower water down on them. That's what it did. And then with the frat parties, we'd go up, they had them up higher, and we'd go up above and then sneak down along the wall of the canyon on the other side and launch from the other side of the canyon onto them. One night we must have hit somebody. No, they didn't know they were all drunk. It's gonna be, but I mean, I don't think it hurt anybody, but they were upset. All the people that were not so drunk they couldn't function. And so we were all sitting up there on the other side, and they stormed up the side of the mountain, and we just kind of pulled our hats down and just sat there and watched. And they got to within just a few feet of us, just yelling, "We're gonna go up there!" Blah, 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 and yelling at us. And anyway, we thought it was our duty to teach them that drinking, there's other ways to have fun than drinking. We were having a great time.
Did Grandma know about all of
No,
that?
probably not.
Where's Kane?
Up on the east side of town.
Okay. We talked about your favorite movies. Tell us about your favorite TV show.
1 second. Let's take a pause. We're back.
Okay. Are you getting everyone in the room?
I am. Hello. I'll show everyone that is
Tell
here.
us about your favorite food.
No, TV show.
TV shows.
Food.
Because we talked about your favorite movies. So favorite TV shows.
We've had favorite TV shows over the years, but mostly I like to have watch TV shows that are light comedies. But we watch things like MASH ever since I was a little kid. Grandma and Grandpa used to stay up and watch MASH. It came on at 10:30, right after the news, and so that was a favorite one to push the limit on and stay up and watch. And you still can find MASH on TV, so we can watch MASH still. The other ones are like, again, kind of light comedies. Seinfeld, there's a quotable one that you kind of got to be careful on, by the way, girls.
Yeah.
These
And,
pretzels are making me thirsty.
And we've liked Psych over the years.
Oh.
And one drama that we liked was White Collar. That was good.
Monk.
Monk.
Monk's really good.
So those are kind of TV shows that I like.
Okay. Last question. Favorite? I shouldn't say favorite. Foods.
Favorite foods.
Tell us what you like.
I like to eat hearty foods. So I'm not tied to one. Everything from pizza to mashed potatoes and gravy to
Salsa.
steak. But I'm not that married to any of it. I'm not that focused in on any of it. I'd actually rather have a good seasoned piece of chicken than tough steak. So
That's my dad.
I want it to be cooked well and seasoned well. That's what.
And I will say,
Chicken is better than steak.
it's also good to come home and eat whatever.
I like
Whatever I
leftovers.
Even
Except
if
for
it's
that.
burnt.
He never complains. He'll eat whatever.
Except for
And
that.
he's so happy.
Except for that pea soup thingy with the bread.
Oh yeah, your little.
I remember when Dad went on a fishing trip, you made it and you said we can only eat this when Dad's away. Because he doesn't like it.
Okay,
Cream
he
of
has
tuna.
been vocal about that, but yeah.
Cream of tuna is good, Dad.
We
And I would eat it, but I don't.
He doesn't like
I
it.
don't prefer it, and so I've made that known, and so Dawn just doesn't make it when I'm around.
Real off. No, you haven't. You stink bug. Okay, get off.
So
All right. Do you have anything else?
He loves watermelon.
And
No.
he likes hot things.
people
Just-
like to give me jokes with watermelon. They bring watermelon, knowing that I don't like it.
It's really a gift for me.
They're like,
He
Oh,
likes
red pepper flakes. Give me
Yeah.
red pepper
I
flakes.
do like to heat the food up a
Put
little
them
bit.
on
I think
anything.
that adds.
and
Macaroni and cheese.
He makes
And I
some
like
really good guacamole.
Well, since I've had my surgery, I can't eat some things that I do like. I like hot dogs and brats and all that kind of stuff, but that rips me up. And so
More like kills us.
I tend to avoid that stuff, but I do like simple foods, rice, meat on top, like you get at Chinese restaurants or or Hawaiian restaurants, like Rumby.
Mm-hmm.
So those
Don't you
are
ever-
simple foods that aren't mixed up with lots of sauces and stuff. Well, I don't know. I like the sauces too. Just no, not like gravies, just seasonings.
Don't you guys like hoo-ha?
I
Okay,
do like food.
Okay.
and one of the best places, well, I shouldn't say the best, but a fun little date is to walk up to Macy's and get
Luca.
their ice cream.
Go get an ice cream after we went rappelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we go up the
So
canyon.
that's a fun, cheap date. We can just walk up there.
See, we could get like a bucket of ice cream from there by just taking a bunch of their ice cream cones and smushing it into a bucket. And there you have it.
It's supposed.
Right.
I think
I
it's.
think you could do that about anywhere.
All right, we're gonna cut the show for now, and we'll have more questions tomorrow. I've got 2 questions on my mind I want to ask you tomorrow.
Now I'll talk about that.
We're gonna watch Princess Bride.
Yes, and ice cream. You know this, right?
All right. Bye. Everyone say bye.
Bye.
Bye, Dad.
You coming with me?
Yay, we are recording. Grandma and Grandpa are here.
Okay.
This woman.
All right. I want you to tell about becoming a father and the circumstances with, each of the girls kind of go through. And
Boy, that's gonna be a tough one.
is it just your thoughts about becoming a father? And
Well, I
What?
was excited to be a father. We had, Alexis was, we knew she was going to be a girl, and we had her name picked out, and I was all for getting her here fast. I didn't think it was going to be very good for Jessica to have a long, long labor, and I knew I didn't want to sit through a long, long labor because I was selfish. So we had talked about doing things to try to get the baby to come faster, and at that time they said that an epidural would slow down the progress. So we decided that we would try to keep Mom home as long as we could and get the baby moving. And so we went ahead and did a walk on the day that we thought that she might come. And we walked over to Dwayne and Laurie Hunt's house and visited them. That was 2 or 3 blocks away. And we sat there and visited and visited and visited and visited, and Mom was starting to have contractions. And she had been having a little bit of contractions through the day, so we knew it was kind of started, but she never said anything until finally it was probably 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, kind of getting, well, no, it wasn't that late because we walked over there.
yeah, but it was
January, so anyway, it was evening time. It must have been,
Yeah.
I don't know, 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night because it was January and getting dark and we were in Colorado. Anyway, I decided it's time to go home, and we walked outside, and Jessica says, I've been having contractions every 3 minutes for the last hour. And she never said anything. So anyway, we go home and we called the doctor and decided we needed to go and get the doctor called and get involved. And so, but we still didn't think we wanted to just go sit at the hospital, and so we sat at home for longer until she just couldn't take it anymore. And then we went in probably at 9 or 10, I don't know, somewhere after dark. Way after dark. And then when we got to the hospital, she was moving right along, and so they just moved her in and got her into delivery, and the baby Alexis came within a pretty short time. It just seemed like there wasn't any delay. We just moved from one thing to the next once we got there. And got her on the monitors and got her an epidural, and then the baby, Alexis, came at, 2 o'clock in the morning or something. On Super Bowl Sunday of 1999. And Denver won the Super Bowl that year, and Alexis got all this Denver Bronco a hat and baby stuff that they had set up for that day in the hospital. So that was Alexis coming. And then I just remember coming home, and of course Mom did everything because she's awesome. I did have a classmate who had a baby during vet school, and she would make her husband get up and help, even though
In the middle of the night.
he had nothing to do
Off.
but watch. I mean, she was nursing, and so he just was up. And I just thought that was the stupidest thing, because it didn't do any good for both people to be sleep deprived. So anyway, Jessica was good to just take care of everything, and I could sleep and go to school. But I did get up occasionally, and one night I was holding Alexis, and it just I had pretty strong that here's my baby girl, and she isn't going to be a baby forever, and it just kind of was neat to hold her and imagine the life ahead and all the things that she may go through. So it's kind of an emotional time to have the babies. So that was Alexis. And I remember when Olivia was born, we were trying to do the same thing. We were trying to hurry things along always because we wanted her to get here. And so we went on walks and we did all sorts of things, but she just wasn't ready to come. So despite our best efforts after having the doctor try to get you going and get Mom going, and then also our walking and so forth, it didn't seem to make any difference with Olivia. And so I think we didn't go in and then go home, did we? Did we went in?
No, we went in and they started me, and then it was hours and hours and hours.
Finally, but we were up all night thinking that she was going to come, I think.
Yeah, I was up all night.
And then she never came during the night, and so then finally we went in the morning and just to get things started. And gave her the drugs and stuff, but it was still till 5 or so in the afternoon. So Olivia came. So it wasn't the world record labor by any stretch, but we thought it would be faster than the first delivery. That's what people always said. Oh, your second one will go easier than the first. But it was longer by a long ways. So that was good. And I took Alexis home. It seemed like, to me, and some of you may argue, but to me, I remember that was when she got potty trained. We just determined that she needed to not be in diapers anymore, more or less, and told her she's got to hold it. And I don't remember her doing, having accidents anymore after that at night, that she was potty trained at night. I don't know. There's probably more to it than that during the day and so forth, but it seemed like from that point on, from a potty training standpoint, things were pretty good for Alexis. And then, of course, we had a cute little Olivia. And Olivia, with her, she had a little overbite when she started to get her teeth. And it just reminded us of Laura Ingalls on the Little House on the Prairie, and the way she talked. It was exactly. And of course, then here I was with 3 little girls, and it was just like the Little House on the Prairie around our house. But Olivia talked just like Laura Ingalls. It was very cute, very fun. And we tried to get her to overcome her little lisp, and we had fun with that. When I tried to get her to say things to help her with her R's, and she'd make fun and say them wrong on purpose and stuff, just to get my goat. She was a turkey. And then Liza, she was born in the apartment while we were building our house. Let's see, what do we say about Liza? She's
4 for Jeep ride.
Oh yeah, the day before She was born when we went on a Jeep ride to Mount Logan. Grandpa had a Jeep and we borrowed it and went to Mount Logan. We thought we would bounce her right out, and in hindsight it was probably pretty stupid because had she come or started to come, we would have been in trouble, but
It was the most uncomfortable ride I've ever had.
That's awful cheap.
It was awful.
I remember thinking we were gonna fall off the mountain because it was so steep. I just remember
We
thinking
just went
that.
straight up, like it didn't look like we were on a trail or anything. Actually.
Yeah.
Just rode straight up.
Yep.
And there
And-
were thousands and thousands of ladybugs up there.
And they all peed on us. I remember having yellow stuff all over my arms. I was like, Mom, what is this? Oh, they peed on you.
all the ladybugs, huh?
Okay.
So that didn't do any good. So then I think the next day, Mom was still feeling like it was time, and so we walked from our apartment, which was over by the sports academy, to Walmart, and pushed the cart around Walmart for hours until she started to have regular contractions. And then we called Grandma Gibson over to about, I don't know, late 10, 11 o'clock at night to take care of things while we went to the hospital. And Liza was born, I don't remember when Liza was born, but I mean, it was that time. It was between Olivia and Isabel. But I don't remember the time of day. Do you remember, Jessica? What we went in?
Liza?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went in the evening, and she was born in the.
Were you early in the morning?
I think so because Grandma Gibson came and spent the night.
That's what I just said.
Oh, okay.
I remember that night. I remember we had family prayer, and Dad asked me to say the prayer, and I said, "Please bless Mommy to have the baby." And then she had the baby that night. I thought that was so neat.
So Liza was born, and then Liza was a loud baby. All you girls were good sleepers, it seemed like. We never had any that really kept us up for a long time. Like some of your cousins, they were up up all hours of the night till they were 2 and 3 years old, and you girls were sleeping for 5 and 6 hours.
We still sleep.
5 and 6 hours at a time. By the time you were a month old, practically, they were just really good sleepers. So
Didn't
that was
you
a
guys
blessing.
say that Liza was the only one that didn't have an epidural?
Oh, I think by then they decided that having an epidural didn't slow anything down, and so we went in and got an epidural right off the bat, and that was better for Mama.
Does it hurt?
Does an epidural hurt?
No.
Are you serious? I've heard it's like awful.
Liv,
I had an epidural, so it was great. I didn't feel anything.
By the time you want an epidural, it's the least of your worries.
Right.
isn't it just like numbing stuff?
Yep.
Yeah.
Numbs your-
It goes into your back.
So, but Liza was loud. She just had a loud cry, and
We never needed a baby monitor for Eliza.
because if
She was
she
loud.
needed something, she'd let you know.
Yep.
And then Isabel, and she was born. We were at I don't remember all the circumstances associated with it. I don't think we went on a Jeep ride. I don't think we did anything too crazy. We just waited, and then when Isabel was born, we got the epidural right away. But we were talking to the doctor about how we had 3 girls already. We had a little blonde-headed girl and a little brown, dirty blonde girl, and then we had a dark brown-haired girl. And so the only color that we were missing was a redhead. And about that time, of course, the doctor shows up just for the end. And so about that time, out comes some red hair, and there was our little redhead. It was Isabel. And we'd already chosen the name Isabel, but with the red hair, we just felt like it was the perfect combination. And anyway, so we had our 4th color in Isabel, and that was cool. Isabel was the first one born in our house, after we built our house. And then Sophia came about the time Grandma and Grandpa were going on their mission to Denmark. And Sophia's hair color was a mix right off the bat, wasn't it? She had the little blonde streak pretty quick. So everybody got a unique hair color. Sophie's the blonde streak in the front, and the rest was dark brown, or rather light brown.
I'm the only native one.
What?
I'm
Native?
the only native one. I was born in this house. I've lived in this house my entire life. I am native.
Sophie's
So am I.
native.
Yeah, but I was before her. So.
We wish God, Jim.
So that's nice to
Good. Good job.
And you
Okay.
found out?
Tell what makes each of your brothers and sisters special. Be specific.
Special.
We'll talk about your siblings.
Siblings.
I want to do
Mhm.
this.
So we'll start with Anna. Anna was my oldest sister. And Anna has faced some challenges in life, but she is a very loving person who does good things and cares about folks really deeply. And Anna's a great person. She used to do dirty little tricks to us though. She liked to be in charge when we were little. And we had a laundry chute. She'd make us go down the laundry chute, or she'd lock us in the bathroom or do something while Mom and Dad were gone.
I've always wanted to go down.
Not anything too crazy, and we kind of played into it. It was a game for us too. The locking us in the bathroom got old sometimes, but she'd lock us in there occasionally and say, well, you can go down the chute, that's your only way out. Anyway. And then Brenda is my second sister, and she's just as kind and sweet and innocent a person as you'd ever meet. And Tom and I shared a room, and Tom and I didn't like to get out of bed. We were too lazy to turn the lights off. And Brenda had a room down at the other end of the hall, some long ways down the hall. There was the bathroom and 2 other bedrooms in between her room and our room. And anyway, we would call down to Brenda, and she'd hear us and finally come in and say, what do you want? Would you turn off the light? And of course she was standing right by the light, and she would do it. She'd just reach over and turn it off and go, you guys, and she'd stomp off, man. But she turned the light off. And that was not a one-time occurrence. That happened regularly. Anyway, she was always sweet to turn the light off, even though we were being idiots and we would get ourselves out of bed and walk 5 feet. We made her walk 40 feet to bed. Or whatever, however far it was. And let's see, and she's still that sweet today. She'd come and do whatever you needed for you. And then Tom, we shared a room, so that was a challenge at times. I was probably never very nice to Tom. I don't remember being mean, but just teasing. But Tom never wanted to play with me or wrestle with me for whatever reason. Maybe probably because I was mean, I guess. But he, I never wanted to do that kind of thing. And Tom was really strong-willed, that's for sure, and strong too. Eventually, I'd tease him now and again to try to get him to wrestle, and again, he never really wanted to. Then one day, I don't know if it was just before my mission or just after my mission, but I decided I was going to try to get him to wrestle or tease him or something, and he didn't want any of it, and so he just kind of grabbed me and tossed me off of him, and he had apparently grown up in the time that I had last tried, because it kind of startled me how strong he was, and I just said, well, I think I'll probably not use him anymore. He's stronger than I am. I'm going to let that go. Tom was a snorer, and so when he'd get to snoring, I'd reach over and plug his nose until he'd wake up. Wake up. That was probably pretty mean. He probably thought he was dying because he couldn't get any breath. But he'd wake up and stop snoring. Sometimes he'd snore just like Big Bird. I mean, exactly like Big Bird. And so I'd have to do that to sleep. Anyway, that was Tom. And then Richie and Andy, they were the little boys. They came later in our lives. I was 8 when Rich came, and he was just about the cutest little baby there ever was. Just blonde hair, and of course chubby little cheeks, whatever. But he was born just before Christmas, and a few days before Christmas, he started choking on a bottle, and that was kind of scary. Everybody was pretty scared. He turned blue, and he, of course, got pounded on the back. I can't remember who was jumping on him, using their knee more, but it was just kidding. He just kind of gave us a scare with the bottle and choking that everyone remembers, and that.
And Grandpa gave you a glass.
Anyway, he was fine in the end after the blessing and the pounding. But then he got his little leg broken one time when Brenda pushed him on his big little toy. That was scary, but Rich has always been a fun, especially fun-loving guy, and good to interact with people and organize things. I was always impressed when he got into high school how he could pull a party together with all these friends and just have a good time. He was kind of the center of the party always, so that was fun. And he and Rich were just always best of friends. They always did everything together.
Him and Andy.
Him and Andy, they were a year and a half apart. And Andy, I don't know if Rich felt like he was a tag along, but he always was right there. It just didn't seem that way. They seemed like they were on par socially and just always doing the same thing. Andy was more of an aggressive little kid. He was a mean little sucker, actually. He knew just how to push your buttons. And he had Grandma and Grandpa pretty buffaloed about that for, maybe they still are, I don't know. But he knew how to get Rich in trouble if he wanted to, and make himself look at, make himself out to be the innocent bystander.
I knew what was going on.
But he was fun to have around too. He was a lot like me as far as interests and being athletic and stuff. He played football and played the same position that I played, and so we have that in common. He was more successful at it than me. He went on to play at Weaver State for a year before his mission, and then he wised up on his mission, decided that wasn't what he wanted to do with his head either, and so he stopped pounding his head against other people and hung up the helmet and went to school, and it was of course he was already in school, but I mean, buckled down and decided to be a physician, and that's what he did. So that was Andy, and that's all my siblings.
Okay. Tell something about each of your children, their personalities, their traits that make them different and special.
Sophie's back here wagging her tail.
Okay. Let's see, should we start from the youngest to oldest or oldest to youngest?
Youngest to old.
Come stand by Dad, Soph.
So Sophie is
Go
our
stand by Dad. He's
youngest.
talking to you about you.
And today we had family pictures, and we learned a lot about Sophie today, that she likes to be a clown, and she's very sweet, and she's very talented in Spanish. All the girls are good students. Sophie's had the opportunity to do her dual immersion Spanish program, and she speaks Spanish without an accent. She's learned it by listening, and unless she's messing around purposefully speaking with an American accent, she speaks Spanish without any accent, as far as I can tell. So she's talented at that, and she's very friendly and likes to play. And she makes friends easily.
How old is she?
And Sophie is 10. Sophie was born in 2017 and will turn 11.
2007.
2007, and will turn 11 this year, 2018, in August 11th. Let's see, and then Isabel is our next oldest. Isabel is our redhead. And Isabel has a personality to match her hair.
How old is she?
She is 12, almost 13. Born in 2005 on May 4th. Almost a Cinco de Mayo baby, but we had to hurry and get her here so she wouldn't have to share her birthday with all of the Mexicans.
I'd rather be a Star Wars baby than
There you go. May the 4th be with you. May the 4th is when she was born. So Isabel is very fiery in her personality. She's one that has a strong opinion, and she's not quiet about it. And she likes to laugh. She likes to have fun. And she likes to be loud too. I don't know that she's naturally loud like Liza's naturally loud, but she's likes to have fun, and she's not quiet about it, and she does. And so she's lots of fun to have around. And Eliza, she is our dark one. So we like to do we like to quote the Princess Bride, and so in the Princess Bride,
Liza, come here.
Come stand by Dad.
I want to show you in the video.
in the Princess Bride, they say,
Please come sit by
but
Dad.
she is loud, as you can hear.
Kneel down by Dad.
In The Princess Bride, there's a quote where the guy gets to Inigo, and he says, "Kill the Dark One and the Giant, and leave the third for questioning." The Giant is Andre the Giant, the Dark One is Inigo, and the third one is the
It's me.
Darkwood and the Giant.
I'm Indigo. Eliza's the man in black.
is Wesley.
I'm not the man in black.
So Eliza has had
I am.
several incidents where people have thought that she was just coming to church with us because we were doing some friendshipping, because she looks different enough from our family that they think that we're just befriending some little girl, and they think that she's a Mexican girl. And several people have thought that she was a Mexican girl who we've been befriending and bringing to church. But she's not. She's really my daughter. And actually, she looks just like Grandpa Sanders in her baby pictures. And
Without the dark hair.
she does like to, as a little girl, she likes to kiss her cousins.
Oh, goodness gracious.
There's a video. There's a
Two
cute
different
video
people,
where-
I'll have you know.
Oh my gosh.
There's a cute video where
Oh,
Liza.
she's the cutest.
Oh, 3 guys.
You guys want me to finish? There's
Sorry.
a cute video where Liza is encouraged by someone. Go and give Quincy a kiss. Quincy is Anna's son. And he was probably 3 and she was probably 1. Whatever, you can do the math to figure out how old she was compared to him. But she was just little, just walking. And go and give Quincy a kiss. And so she says, yeah. And she kind of toddles over to give him a kiss. And he is just so embarrassed and giggly and not wanting to have anything to do with it. But it's very cute. So, and Liza is a smart little girl who loves to read and is very well read. And
How old is
she
she?
can tell you about many, many topics and in more detail than about anybody that we know. And so she's good to have around. If you need a good conversation, she'll carry the conversation. And that's good.
How old is she?
Liza is 14, going to be 15 this fall on September 25th.
Tell her how when she was little, I could say to her, Liza, close your eyes and go to sleep. And she'd close her eyes and go to sleep.
So when she was little, Grandma used to be able to tell her, Liza, close your eyes and go to sleep. And she'd close her eyes and go to sleep. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
Thanks. And let's see, Olivia, we say that we have twins, 2 sets of twins in our house. And Olivia is very similar in personality to Isabel. And in some of their things that they did growing up, they have similar patterns. And they're not exact, but they are similar. They're both tall. They're both smart girls who sometimes I think get overshadowed by their siblings who are alongside of them because they're maybe not quite as inclined to be bookworms as Alexis and Eliza, but they both get really good grades and do super in school, and so we are very proud of them for what they do in their schoolwork and hope that they don't feel like they're any less just because they have a couple of sisters who are well-read, semi-genius kind of people that sit alongside of them, because they are both very smart too. And Liv does excellent in her physics and her math and everything, and so she's super, and she's very friendly and is very socially conscious and aware of other people's perception and feelings. And she's quite a makeup artist. She knows how to do her own makeup, and she likes to do other people's makeup. And she is just absolutely beautiful. Not that all my girls aren't beautiful, but Liv knows how to take beauty and then she can doctor it up too and make have fun with that makeup stuff that she does so well. And let's see what else about Liv. She's a talented athlete and plays on the high school basketball team and has done really well. She's had ankle injuries that have set her back some, and that's been a struggle. But she's been able to play on the state championship, or rather region championship basketball team that went to state had a shot at it, but it did really well. And so that's been a fun year. This year, Olivia is 17 and will turn 18 on December 5th of this year. That's always nice to know how old she is, because she's as old, she'll turn as old as the year is each year.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps me remember how old she is. She was born in 2000. Let's see, Alexis, she is our first of the other set of twins, Alexis and Eliza. They have been our, as I alluded, our little bookworms, and growing up has had times just like Eliza, where sitting in our room and reading has been a favorite pastime. Doing lots of reading. Alexis is a night owl. She stays up to all hours of the night doing who knows what, frankly. But she does always seem to get her important stuff done and do really well in her classwork. And she has taken during high school, several advanced placement courses, which she passed every one of them. And that was impressive to her mother and I, especially me, because I didn't pass any when I was in high school. But she is a very diligent and dedicated student, and able to tackle tough subjects and put in the time it requires to get the job done and do it well. And Alexis sets a fine example for her sisters, which she's sometimes not always appreciated, having that responsibility as the oldest child, but she has set a good example. And this time she's getting ready to go on her mission to Peru, and will leave in about 8 weeks. 8 weeks, yep, something like that. June 6th is when she's to report to the MTC in Peru, which I find is fantastic, just that she gets to go straight there. When I went on my mission, we went to the MTC in Provo, and only native missionaries went to the foreign MTCs. The MTC down there would have been just with natives. But she gets to go straight there. She took high school Spanish and is learning, or rather had learned it well enough to where I think when Sophie and I speak Spanish together, she understands far more than I would expect her to, and I think she's going to do great with the language. And then, of course, her gospel knowledge is going to carry her through too. So we excited for Alexis to go on her mission. She's going to, again, set a great example for her sisters. So I love them all, everyone different, everyone special.
Thank you. Okay, now one last question. To change subjects on a lighter note. We're going to talk about household chores. Were you responsible for any household chores? What were they, and which did you most enjoy? And which did you least enjoy?
I was responsible for household chores growing up, and I don't remember how Grandma had it divided up, but I think we all had a job to do each day, and maybe we did that job for a week, And then we did another job, and so I don't think that we did, I know bathrooms was one of them. Dusting would have been one of them. Vacuuming probably was one of them. And then maybe we just divided up how much of the house we did in those chores. I don't know, I don't remember others, but there were
Wash walls.
baseboards, yeah. The ones I would hate the worst would be the washing the walls. That would have been really weird. Probably dusting was the preferred job because it was quick and easy. Vacuuming, I don't remember it being anything to talk about. I don't remember much about that. Cleaning the toilets, now that was a project. I mean, Grandma never believed in a toilet brush. You just had a rag and your bare hand. And you better hope you knew how to wash your hand when you're done. And the job was to clean the sink and to clean the mirror and to clean the toilet and the tub and mop the floor with the rag after you're done. And then that got done, not on a weekly or an every other week basis, that was done every day after school. Every single day the toilet got washed. And so we knew how to clean the toilet and how to clean the sink and all that. And it was all done again with the rag. And there's a specific way, and if it didn't sparkle, then it wasn't done. And so we used Ajax, as I remember, and we cleaned the sink. And then we cleaned the toilet, and then we cleaned the tub out every day with Ajax and a rag. So that was household chores, and it was not an option, it was a requirement. If you were going to go play outside, then you had your job done. So, though we didn't have a farm to work on, we got to pick up plenty of manure. Especially when we started having diapers to do when the little boys were born, we used cloth diapers. And they came, some of them pretty ripe. And you learned how to drop that plop right in the toilet. And then hopefully it was firm enough to flush. But if it wasn't, then you got that rag down in there, that diaper, and you flush the toilet and you swirl it around and around and around. And then you flush again, swirl it around and around and around and around until it was clean. Then you wrung it out, put it in the diaper hamper or whatever, diaper pail. And then got a new one and put it on the baby, and you gave him a little poke just for being a bad boy for pooping his pants. No, you didn't. But we did know how to use diaper pins and diapers, the whole thing. Just like the good old days say, don't sweat the pot. So, does that answer that?
Yep. Good job.
We also had other chores, I guess, when we weeded the garden, and everybody helped. We didn't have, well, the boys always mowed the lawn, I think, but I don't think we had chores that were just boys' chores or just girls' chores. We all learned how to do dishes, and we didn't have an electric dishwasher, automatic dishwasher for quite a few years. So we all did dishes every night. We all knew how to do dishes. Didn't always do it every night. I'm sure Grandma could argue with how well we did it, but we knew how to do it. And the garden being weeded or the edging on the lawn being done wasn't just a boys' thing, or it wasn't just a girls' thing. It was shared by everybody, as I recall. And we never did a very good job at it as far as to the part of that should have been done once the garden got downsized and people started moving away from home. It started to look a lot better because Grandma and Grandpa were the ones responsible to do it, and they did it right. But we tried at it, and it helped us to learn how to work. That's for sure.
We had to wash windows and stuff like that.
Washing windows was the worst of the job too.
Do you remember sitting out on the road?
I remember having to take a knife and a rag and wipe and cleaning out all of the dust and the dead flies and things that would collect down in the window frame. And I just hated that job. I really didn't mind cleaning the bathroom because it did look sparkly clean. You could see that you were done. The other jobs, it seemed like there was never an end point. It went on forever. Probably enough about job.
All right, we'll take a break. Good job.
Bye, Dad.